Oh, I just couldn't believe it. I was jumping up and down and I was asking my mum if she was actually serious. She's like, yeah, you're going with the Navy. And I just didn't sleep. And to see that I get to dive with professionals, it was just amazing. Because I've never been scuba diving before, and I've seen like underwater when I'm spearfishing, but I've never actually been able to stay under there and actually experience what it's like. I think we're going to see lots of animals, fish, possibly sharks, and lots of seaweed. Yeah, I just think the ocean's an amazing place and people should respect it like it's their home. Because most of the people that live in the city like this, they just think the ocean's all about swimming and jumping off bridges and stuff like that, but they don't respect that you need to take care of it, because people don't realise without the ocean, the world's nothing. The ocean's what keeps the world alive. It supplies rain, and food and fish.
When you grow up near the water, it's kind of just, I guess it's just always there, you don't really think about it. But when I started to get older, I think it was probably nature documentaries that got me like kind of looking into diving careers. And then after I found clearance diving, I actually went for my first scuba dive to make sure I liked it, because I was like, I don't really want to commit to a career of Navy diving if I actually don't like diving. And they took me to this 10-metre dip pool in Canberra, and yeah, down I went. I think I held my breath the whole way, which you're not supposed to do, because breathing underwater is so unnatural. And yeah, I was kind of lying on my cylinder, like looking at the surface, watching everyone come down, and I took my first breath. And I was just telling Bailey, I was like, you'll never forget that. It was unreal.
My parents moved to Rockhampton in about 1979, and the house we bought had a pool, and my parents had sold a speedboat and bought a yacht, and they were teaching themselves to snorkel, and so we learned to snorkel. And I was cleaning the pool one day with a snorkel on, and my old man had just finished his Nowie course, and I was 11, I think, and I said, that'd be a lot easier, and he goes, sure, and he threw it on me and said, don't hold your breath, and all I did was, that's how I got started. And a couple of weeks later we were out on the boat, and my parents used to go diving and leave us on the boat, and we'd snorkel and that, and then Mum sort of came up and said, oh, do you want to have a go on the scuba? And I said, sure, because, you know, so I threw it on and away I went. And that was about 11, 12, and then when I was 17, I was just finishing up school and I didn't know what I wanted to do. We were out on the yacht again. Keppel Island was where we used to sort of spend our time. And my brother and I had to row ashore and take all the garbage ashore and put it in the resort bins. That's what we used to do. And it just so happened there was a landing craft heavy sitting there that had just come back from Shoalwater Bay, where clearance divers trained. And they were all ashore after having been up on the island for 14 days. And we sat there and started talking to them because they were a happy bunch of fellas. After a couple of hours, one of them said, well, why don't you join the Navy? And I said, oh, okay, that sounds like a great idea. And he said, here's my name, here's my number, give me a call. So finished school and I rang him up and he told me what to do. So I joined the Navy sort of April. I left school in obviously October. I joined the Navy in April of that year. And when I joined, you couldn't actually become a clearance diver. You had to sort of join up as something else. 3 years later, I transitioned across to clearance diver, and that was 35 years ago. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to, be a diver or anything else. But once I met these guys, and they had all these tails, right? This was the big thing. So all these clearance divers, especially the senior guys who had been on their advanced course, had all these tales about stuff they'd been doing, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great thing, travel the world, go diving all over the world, and that's pretty much what I've done since then, so yeah.
Well, I've always had a passion for the water. Growing up swimming, surf lifesaving, I thought it would make sense to then enter the Navy and join as a clearance diver to pursue that. It's just fun. There was definitely a bit of a process along the way, a lot of interviewing, selection process and course. So there was definitely challenging aspects to it. But I feel like if you have the drive, then you want it hard, like bad enough, then yeah, definitely wouldn't want any other job.
I think for clearance diving as a job, if you're going to do anything in the Navy, it's definitely, I reckon it'd be top 3, for sure. Because it's not, you also meet everyone that have like a love for the water, and I think that's what draws a lot of people in, is just that. It's a lot of camaraderie. You meet like some pretty amazing friends, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else in the Navy, that's for sure. I think for me, it was so unnatural, and being 10 metres like on the bottom of a pool breathing, I think for me it was just, you kind of feel the cold gas kind of hit your lungs, and you just, I don't know. For me it was pretty surreal. I reckon he's pretty excited. He might be a little bit nervous too, but nah, I reckon he'll be the same as me. I reckon he'll take that first breath. I don't think it's anything he'll forget. He's pretty lucky to do it at his age as well. I think I was like 19 years old when I did it.
Yeah, it was crazy. They were both surrounding me and they had big cameras. I was in the middle of them and they were talking to me and showing me all the stuff around them. It looked very expensive, very expensive. It was covered with all the Navy stuff all over it, and they had big tanks on the front and the back with like a mask and two strips of stuff for the air to go in and out of, so there's no bubbles. I'm thinking it could be a good career, and that because they just get to go and dive every day, well, most days, even if they don't get to do a job, they get to train diving. They get to do stuff like they did today. It was great. I didn't think it was going to be like that, but in a good way. I didn't think there was going to be that many fish. I didn't think we were going to see an eagle ray or anything like that. It was way better. I feel like there's heaps more out there than I thought there was before. That it just goes to show that there's still heaps of life out there, and if we take care of it, it can stay there. fun when I tell them about everything I dived with and what I saw. Say, take care of the ocean, there's only one.
My name's Charlotte, I'm 16. I don't know, I swim sometimes. Probably I need to swim more, I've kind of stopped. I go to the beach, which I love going to the beach. And yeah, it's pretty exciting because I've seen videos of my dad scuba diving with like stingrays and stuff like that, and it always looks really exciting. I feel like it'd be like I'm in a box and I'm just floating. Just how peaceful it is and how like perfect. I don't know, you just like look out and it's just so simple and perfect. Water and just like relaxes you. I feel like it's gonna be something different because I've gone swimming under the water, but I've never been like just being able to like swim underwater without worrying about going up and breathe. So it'll be just a whole new experience. I'm excited for it. I think they just care about what other people think and what everyone else is doing. And like, because I know heaps of people that just go to the beach but they don't actually swim. They just don't want to get wet. They don't want to get their hair wet. I don't know, because it's just fun when you just don't care what other people think and you just enjoy what you're doing in the moment with your friends. Bella Davidson, 16, and well, I work at David Jones. Well, I like the beach. I liked shopping, and that's kind of it. I was excited because, well, like we used to do like all the snorkeling in like Hawaii when we went away, but like Dad always used to go down like deep with the like manta rays at night, and like all the videos looked cool on that, so I thought it'd just be fun. I don't know, just swimming underwater, but like not having to come up, just being able to stay down there. I don't, like, it's kind of like being like a fish, because like being in like a different kind of world, because you don't really need to rely on like oxygen, like you don't really have to think about it. It's like kind of like an escape, because you can just like forget about it. Like you don't, like as you said before, you don't have to talk to anyone, and you just get to like relax underwater. It's really important. It's like, well, like we use it to drink. It's like what we have for food, like fish and stuff, is all from the ocean. Well, some people are like scared of it. Like I have friends that like won't even go in the water because they're like scared of, I don't even know what, because like not scared of it, but like some people see it as that, and some people just see like it'll always be there, so it like doesn't really matter. But I feel like I've just grown up around the water, so I'm like really comfortable with it, and it's like I don't know what it would be without the water, because like I've always grown up at the beach or at the swimming pool just doing stuff like that.
So today we're in a beautiful bay. It's called Long Bay or Malabar, and it's a really, really special place because it's often a lot calmer, it's sheltered from the wind, but on the water there's some very beautiful seaweed forests. Look, the thing about the underwater world is that it is actually full of creatures and animals that, you know, they're pretty amazing. Like think of the weedy sea dragon, or, you know, like where do you see dragons above water? You don't, right? Underwater we actually are home to some really remarkable creatures, and the seaweeds are essentially the trees. They're the trees on the water that provide the habitat, the hiding places, the food for all these other creatures to live around.
That's just a relaxing place to go. If your like mind's a bit puzzled or you're not in a good place, you can just go to the ocean and you'll relax. I don't know, I think because you're just alone with your thoughts and you can just process everything different to what you would with like all the distractions that are on land. It was very cool. I liked being able to breathe underwater and just stay under. I was like, this is so weird. Like, it was like, felt weird to breathe, and then like I kind of freaked out, but then I was like, all right. Like only like for a second, because I was like, I forgot like how to breathe. It was cool seeing all the fish. We saw a golf ball, just sitting on the ground. But there was lots of like different fishes underwater, all the different rocks and coral. There's more like life under the water than what I thought. Like if you look at here, I just thought there was like lots of rocks and stuff like that, but there's actually like so many fish and stuff like that under the water. That was really good. It was something different that I haven't done before. It was very interesting to go in the water. It was a weird feeling because I was kind of thinking about everything, like what I had to do, how I had to pop my ears and how I just had to keep breathing. But once I got that out of the way and I just relaxed, it was really cool. I saw lots of fishes, and as you like kept going, you saw like bigger fishes, and you saw lots of seaweed, and yeah. That it's much more interesting than everyone thinks, and that if we all go to the beach, we should all go swimming and not just sit on the sand. Yeah, it was fun. Maybe when Dad gets back, we can all go together and be a family thing. Because you can all do it together. You'll have to like trust each other, and I think it would just help the relationship between everyone because it's like a thing to do all together. That there's like so much that you wouldn't expect that's under the water, like so much life and like excitement to see under the water. Because it's like all the things that give us life. It's like we eat the fish, and then we don't need the salt water, but like, you know, it helps the fish that we eat, and then all that kind of stuff. So it's all like a cycle. You could just go, if you're having like a bad day or something and you like know how to scuba dive, you could just go and then you're by yourself for a little while, just swimming in the water. It was an experience that I've never done before, never experienced something like that, and it was just pretty cool.
It's been kind of cool, kind of in awe, you know, because I've been like learning about it at school. Like they teach you it every single year. Like you don't get any other history lessons in primary school. All you get taught about is like the Endeavour and the First Fleet. It's kind of cool to see the people who like discovered its remains and been studying it. It's quite, feels like the sort of people you see on TV but you never really meet.
When I was growing up, I went to school and you know, grade 5, grade 6 high school, primary school in WA, and Endeavour was seen as this fantastic ship of exploration and colonisation, and Cook was this amazing guy and all this sort of stuff. And of course, that's what history taught me then. And now, of course, we interpret Endeavour as a totally different vessel. And I see Endeavour as having all these multiple lives, and each one has influenced multiple groups of people.
My dad, you know, I think got fascinated by the underwater world. From about the age of 5 or 6, I started going out on the boat with him. And, you know, so I was out on the boat with him and seeing them put their kit on, and they all get in the water and, you know, do their dive and come back up, talk about all the awesome stuff they saw, and just thought, man, I want to do that. How do I get to do that? You know, so from about the age of 5 or 6, I started nagging my dad just incessantly, like, Dad, when do I get to learn to dive? And he'd say, hey, you're too young, son, you can't do it yet. And then I did my first dive off the beach. Now, the first part of that was fairly chaotic because I was little. I had dive gear that, quite frankly, didn't fit me properly. I was wearing a shorty tank, which was probably twice my weight. So yeah, chaotic. absolutely crazy. I think probably through my head at one point I thought, wait, why am I doing this? This is a really terrible idea. But as soon as we got past the breakers and we got out there and stuck my head in the water and started breathing off the rag, like kind of had that initial sort of and then like, okay, let's chill now. All right. Then it got awesome. I don't know. It was very comforting, and it still is. You know, I've been doing this. I've been working in my profession for 25 years, but I've been diving since I was 9 years old. I'm 49 now, so do the math. You know, and it always comforts me. It's just, you know, when I get in the water, it's just a whole different frame of mind. You know, and everything just kind of clicks into place. And I'll be the first to admit, when I'm gearing up and doing all the prep work prior to getting in the water, I always get a bit nervous. I'm always nervous before every dive I do. Always have been. You know, and there's all that sort of hectic energy with, you know, okay, is everything on? Everything set up right? Well, you know, oops, forgot to hook up my auto inflator. Better do that, you know. And so there's all of that, but as soon as you get in and you just kind of get in the water, bubbles disappear, and then boom, focus, and away I go. And it's always been that way. Kids today got more noise in their lives than I did when I was a kid. I mean, they're getting bombarded with, you know, because everything's digital now and everything's multimedia. It's, you know, and they've got, you know, phones and iPads and handheld devices and this, that, and the other, and cable television, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere all the time. And yeah, having the opportunity to just sort of push all that away, because really you can't have it when you're underwater. You know, I mean, there's the fundamental matter of most electronic devices and water don't get along, so you know, you can't take it in the water. Some you can, admittedly, now they've developed that, but so you know, you remove that factor, and the other thing is the speech factor. You know, you can't talk, and talking alone, I think, can be fairly overwhelming depending on the situation. And that's one of the things I really love about diving, is that I don't have to talk, and I don't have to listen to anybody talking. And it's, yeah, that's magic. Like a lot of things where it's it's hard to describe in words, but I think probably for me, there's a certain type of focus that I develop when I'm underwater. And that focus is calming. And it's the focus of, and it, you know, it's probably intuitive. It's just the fact that you're not in your natural environment. You know, like I'm a land-dwelling animal, really. I breathe air. I can't breathe underwater, not without equipment, you know. And that's where I normally reside. So when I get in the water, I'm in a completely different environment, and I think there's something in your brain that just kind of clicks on, and it makes you focus more. But there's something about that focus, you know, you start to, you know, you hear things, you see things, and there's something very calming about that to me. And I don't quite, it's very hard to explain why. You know, there's that sense of weightlessness. You know, it's amazing when you're underwater, you know. You've got all this gear on when you're on the boat or you're on the beach, but then you get in the water and all of that weight completely disappears, and all of a sudden you're in space, you know. And yeah, you can fly, you can float, you know. It's so much less physically challenging, I think, and yeah, that's awesome too. I mean, I like a big joke I like to tell people is, how did I become a maritime archaeologist? Well, I say, this is what I say. Well, I did land archaeology for a while, and you know, that involves digging holes in the hot sun, you know. Then I tried it underwater, which involves me laying on the bottom of the ocean, sucking dirt into an underwater vacuum cleaner. It's way better. I mean, why wouldn't I pick that option? Yeah, because there's something about that. It's that weightlessness. It's that, but it's that expansive attention that you get. That's just automatic, you know, and it is calming. It's really, yeah.
I was diving with James. He's a leading marine archaeologist who uncovered the remains of the Endeavour, and I was with Heather, who is an expert in conservation, and she conserves things after they've been, like artifacts after they've been brought up out of the surface of the water. We were measuring an anchor, which was really old. It was from the 19th century, and it was like half submerged in the sand, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm Heather Berry. I'm a conservator for Silent World Foundation. I'm a maritime archaeological conservator, so I get to dive and look after artefacts using chemistry. Things like this project and being able to tell people what conservators do and who we are. You know, so often we work behind the scenes. You don't see us at museums and people don't know that we exist. So I think that this is really important to actually show children and adults that we do exist, and hopefully that awareness means more people want to do it, creates more jobs, and kids can get interested in going underwater, because we get the best parts. The archaeologists, they just get to do some drawings underwater and raise artifacts, you know. Doesn't sound that fun to me, to be honest, but we get to look underwater at the artifacts, we get to assess their level of degradation or preservation. Sometimes they're in really good condition. We get to make judgment calls. Is this suitable to be lifted to the surface? Then once it's on the surface, everybody be quiet, you have to listen to me. I'm telling you what to do with this artifact. So you get a lot of control, and you then get to decide how to treat this object using science, all the way through until it goes on display. So if you're a diving conservator, you can be there from the moment that an artifact is found and then raised all the way through to when it's put on display in a museum.
I think what got me under the water was the fact that I could do archaeology there. So I'm not a great swimmer now, but I should be, but shh, don't tell anyone. But I'm not a great swimmer now, but I'm very comfortable diving in dive gear and snorkeling and all that sort of stuff. Actually, to tell you a little story, when I was 11, I actually couldn't swim. And I went to a place called Lake Legenalta in Western Australia, and my cousin had a mask and snorkel. And I put my mask and snorkel on, and all of a sudden I felt very, very comfortable underwater. Weird, because I couldn't actually swim, and I had a fear of swimming, fear of the water. Mask and snorkel went on, saw the underwater world, saw fish. Well, I think I saw fish. And I certainly saw seagrass and seaweeds and stuff in Lake Legenalta, and from there it just clicked. It is a funny experience, and I've been always near the sea ever since. I think it certainly does. It really does resonate. I know it resonated with me at that age, and I think it's a great opportunity for kids to do. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. We walk around the streets of our cities and towns, we walk around the bush and so on, and we get used to that. It's a familiar landscape. But we go underwater and it's brand new, it's foreign, and every single time I dive, no matter how often I dive, it is a foreign landscape. And I'm always finding something new underwater, whether it's a shipwreck, whether it's a new animal or creature I've never seen before. I even get off on the ripples of sand on the seabed. That's the sort of thing I get, and I think many, many divers are like that. It's a whole new world, a whole new experience, and I also enjoy the quietness of underwater, with just the sound of your breathing. And if you're working underwater, the tinkering of your tools that you're using and so on, but just brilliantly quiet. And you also hear things like the shrimp snapping and the fish crunching and munching and other strange sounds in the distance, but it is very, very peaceful. It's a beautiful place to work.
Kind of felt invigorating. Felt like you kind of have gills, being able to breathe underwater, and just felt like empowering. I'm going to tell them about how, about the scuba diving experience and how heavy everything was. But then as soon as you get into the water, you feel like you don't weigh enough because you keep floating to the surface. So you weigh too much and not enough at the same time. Kind of just adds a whole nother level to the ocean. Like, I was used to the top of the ocean, maybe a bit below, but now it's opened up a realm of another 10, 20 meters below it.
I'd say to Leo, seize it. Look at it, seize it, and see where you can go. He's at a fantastic age. He's young enough now to start directing his interests towards the sea, if he wants to. At a very young age, he can start building up his diving experience. to me, archaeology is fantastic, but there are so many other areas of maritime research, marine research, that he could go into, or any other young person can go into. And yeah, have a look. Yeah, be intrigued, be taken, get enthused, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, because the underwater world really is a pretty far out thing, you know. Like if you'd never seen it before, you know, you're just regular Joe living on land, never opened a book or saw a TV show or anything about what's underwater, and you just got stuck in there, it would blow your mind because it is crazy. You know, it's just all the stuff that's down there. The whole aquatic environment is just mind-bending. It really is. So I think there's a lot of merit to that. The other thing I think it is too is that, quite frankly, kids are fearless. They're a lot more fearless than adults are. You know, they don't, you know, they understand danger and they understand threats, I think, but, you know, and I know this from, you know, being older now and thinking about how I was when I was, 9 years old and learning to dive, and thinking about how I am now. And, you know, as overwhelming as it was when I was a kid, like kind of being thrust into that environment for the first time, I was so excited about it that any modicum of danger that was there just kind of got shoved off to the side. It's like, yeah, that could be a problem, but this is way cooler because this is all new and exciting and awesome, and I'm weightless, dude. I'm weightless. What? That's cool.
So my name is Jack. I'm 10, and for what I do for a living, pocket money. Well, going to school is pretty much the same every morning, apart from on Tuesdays, which I have trumpet lessons. Every 6 months we have to round up the sheep and drench them, and every 2 years we have to round up the sheep and drench them, and we have to vaccinate them as well. So we've got, I think, 4 sheep, off the top of my head, 3 alpacas, 4 chickens, and a dog. And if you count my sister as an animal, I've got a sister. Well, you don't have, you're not limited, so when, you can ride motorbikes and you can make a hell lot of noise and that neighbours won't notice. So I started biking about 4 years ago, and I went over to my friend's place and I borrowed his bikes, and then one Christmas I got my own Pee-wee 50 and I rode that for 2 years, and then my birthday last year, I got a 110cc motorbike, and it's been running really well for me. As for what I do, I've got a jump track, which I do jumps on, and I round up the sheep with it. It's gonna make me think differently about underneath the surface, so stuff you can't really see if you just looked down, from a boat. And if you hold your breath and go down, you see something cool happening, but then you need to go up. And with scuba diving, you can stay down there, and it'll just kind of open me up to a whole new world underneath the water.
There is nothing more rewarding than sharing adventure with the kids. Yes, I've done some amazing trips all around the world over the last 20 years, but nothing beats seeing your kids' eyes light up when they're on the side of a cliff or in a canyon or in a world that they just never would have perceived. So that's what my life's all about these days, being able to share adventure with my family.
Sometimes I think he goes a bit crazy. He does really stupid ideas.
Probably the help of his friend Justin and just them working together. You do 3 times better if you were with somebody else.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love most about adventure is the uncertainty, and that is the definition of adventure. It's an activity with an unknown outcome, and to be able to now see my son having an adventure on something where I don't have any capability, I've got no capacity, I don't really even understand what life is like under the water, is going to be absolutely incredible.
I kind of feel honoured and a bit like you've done a lot of things, but now I'm starting to do things as well. I think it's going to be nerve-wracking at first, and then I think when I get more confident, I'll start to really enjoy it.
I think he is seeing this as an opportunity to step up and essentially be a leader. Like in the past, even though we've had adventures, I've kind of led him through those adventures, whereas now he's leading himself. It's his own adventure, and that's the most exciting part about this whole journey.
Well, underneath the waves, they've got this blue, and then you can swim down maybe a metre, and you can kind of see a bit. But then when you're scuba diving, it opens you up to a new world. You can actually stay down there. And when you're swimming, you go down, maybe wait 10 seconds, then you have to come back up again. But with scuba diving, you go down, and you can go down really deep, and instead of staying under there for 10 seconds, you can stay under there for half an hour or an hour. So you can actually see things happening.
What I loved about this adventure was that it was 2 metres off the shore in Manly, in a place where I've been visiting since I've been a kid, and to open up a whole new world of fish and stuff underneath the water that I would have had no idea would have even existed. So to be able to see that stuff is pretty cool. You don't need to go to the top of Mount Everest or down to Antarctica or the corners of the world to experience adventure. It's right here, all around us. I'm sure there's people that have lived in Manly their entire lives and have got no idea about the beauty, about the uncertainty, the adventure that lies just waiting a few metres out from shore.
It was awesome! I loved it. It was like a whole new world underneath there. Like there were heaps of fish, and we saw heaps of cool shells and cool stuff like that. Well, like you felt as light as air, so you could float, you could go upside down, you could do backflips and front flips, and you could do it as such that you won't fall down. You can climb up a cliff, but on land you'll have the fear of falling down. But if you were to climb up a cliff underneath the water, if you were to fall, you would just float, and that's the magic.
With all the ocean travel that I've done, whether it be big yacht voyages and journeys, whether it be big kayak trips, underneath the water means death. That's like the dark place. That's where you don't want to be. That's the last place you want to be when you're kayaking from Australia to New Zealand underneath the water. And so I've never really had that much of an idea what goes on underneath the water. It's all about assessing what's going on the surface, what's going up in the air. And so now to be stepping into this world that I know nothing about is really exciting. I didn't really know what to expect, and there was this level of anticipation because my 10-year-old son had experienced something that I hadn't. And so he came out of the water with this big beaming smile on his face, And I was like, well, there must be something pretty cool going on underneath there. And it hasn't been the best of conditions today. You know, it's raining, the wind's coming in, there's chop, there's swell. And so I really didn't know what to expect. And then as soon as got underneath the water and started taking a few breaths, it was like you've entered a completely new world. And to be in the middle and in the heart of Sydney and to have 5-6 million people all around you, to be a few metres in the water, you're in a completely different world. You're in your own world, and it is absolutely incredible. It's so important for kids to realise that adventure can happen anywhere at any time, and it is totally accessible to everyone. And so for 10-year-old kids to be able to go in and see what's going on underneath the water, first off, it gives them an appreciation and a love of nature and the environment around them. Secondly, it gives them an awareness of there's more to life than materialism and buildings and computer games and stuff. And thirdly, one of the comments that Jack made when he came out of the water was, "Dad, there was so much rubbish in there." And so that gives him a connection to actually wanting to look after the environment and to, I guess, be the next generation to push the world into a place where it's a better place than when we left it.
I've got a better understanding of the ocean. It was heaps and heaps of fun. Well, I'm going to say that I went scuba diving and